National Electrical Code, or NEC, Section 406.5d states that receptacles shall be installed in all wall spaces, including the space occupied by fixed panels adjacent to the edge of the termination, at least every 6 feet. The interpretation of NEC Section 406.5d, according to the NEC, wall space includes fixed panels adjacent to the edge of the termination. This means that entertainment center cabinets built into a wall are considered part of the wall space and require receptacles to be installed every 6 feet. NEC Section 406.5e states that where a door or doorway is located in a wall space less than 6 feet wide, the receptacle shall be installed within 18 inches of the doorway on the side with the doorstop. This requirement applies to all wall spaces, including entertainment center cabinets. Therefore, if an entertainment center cabinet has a door or doorway within its 6-foot width, a floor outlet must be installed within 18 inches of the door. In conclusion, based on the above NEC requirements, it is correct that entertainment center cabinets in a living room are considered wall space and require receptacles to be installed every 6 feet. If any of these cabinets have doors or doorways within their 6-foot width, a floor outlet must also be installed within 18 inches of the door. To further elaborate, let's consider some practical scenarios and delve deeper into the specifics of NEC Sections 406.5d and 406.5e. Imagine a living room where a custom-built entertainment center spans an entire wall, measuring 12 feet in length. This entertainment center consists of fixed panels, shelving, and enclosed cabinets. According to NEC Section 406.5d, receptacles must be installed at least every 6 feet along this wall space. Therefore, in this scenario, you would need at least 3 receptacles. One could be placed at the beginning of the entertainment center, the second in the middle around the 6-foot mark, and the third at the end around the 12-foot mark. This ensures that no point along the wall space is more than 3 feet away from a receptacle, adhering to the 6-foot spacing requirement. Now, let's introduce a door into the equation. Suppose the same 12-foot entertainment center has a cabinet section with a door that is 2 feet wide, falling within the 6-foot span between the first and second receptacle. NEC Section 406.5e comes into play here. Since the doorway is located in a wall space less than 6 feet wide, a floor outlet must be installed within 18 inches of the doorway on the side with the doorstop. This is regardless of the presence of the wall receptacles. The purpose of this floor outlet is to provide convenient access to power for lamps, electronic devices, or other appliances that might be used near the cabinet with the door. It's important to note that the 18-inch measurement is taken from the edge of the doorway to the center of the receptacle. If the doorstop is on the right side of the door, the floor outlet should be installed within 18 inches to the right of the doorway, and vice versa. Let's consider another scenario where the entertainment center is smaller, say only 5 feet wide, and it has a central cabinet with a door. In this case, NEC Section 406.5e still applies. Even though the entire entertainment center is less than 6 feet wide, the presence of the door necessitates the installation of a floor outlet within 18 inches of the doorway. However, NEC Section 406.5d regarding the 6-foot spacing between wall receptacles might not be applicable in this specific scenario because the entire wall space is less than 6 feet. The key takeaway is that the presence of a door or doorway within the wall space triggers the floor outlet requirement, regardless of the overall size of the entertainment center. Now, let's discuss some additional considerations regarding the installation of these receptacles. Firstly, the height of the wall receptacles is typically governed by other NEC requirements. Generally, receptacles should be mounted at a height that is accessible and convenient for users, typically around 12 to 18 inches above the floor. However, local codes or specific client preferences might dictate a different height. Secondly, the type of receptacle used should be appropriate for the intended use and the load it will be subjected to. In residential settings, standard 15 amp or 20 amp 125 volts receptacles are commonly used. However, if the entertainment center will house high-power equipment such as amplifiers or gaming consoles, it might be necessary to install dedicated circuits with higher amperage receptacles to prevent overloading. Thirdly, it's crucial to ensure that all wiring and connections are performed in accordance with NEC standards and local codes. This includes using properly sized conductors, grounding all metallic parts, and protecting the wiring from physical damage. It's always recommended to hire a qualified electrician to perform the electrical work to ensure safety and compliance. Furthermore, consider the aesthetic aspect of the receptacle placement. While code compliance is paramount, you can also strive to integrate the receptacle seamlessly into the design of the entertainment center. This might involve using flush-mounted receptacles, color-matching the receptacle covers to the cabinet finish, or concealing the receptacles behind removable panels. When dealing with entertainment centers that incorporate integrated lighting, such as LED strip lights or spotlights, it's essential to ensure that the lighting system is also compliant with NEC requirements. The lighting fixtures should be properly listed and labeled, and the wiring should be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and applicable codes. If the lighting system is powered by a low-voltage transformer, the transformer should be located in an accessible location and should be protected from overcurrent. Another aspect to consider is the placement of surge protection devices. Entertainment centers often house sensitive electronic equipment that can be damaged by voltage surges or spikes. Therefore, it's a good practice to install surge protection devices at the receptacle serving the entertainment center. These devices can help protect the equipment from damage caused by lightning strikes, power outages, or other electrical disturbances. Surge protection can be achieved through various means, such as using surge-protected power strips, installing surge protection receptacles, or installing a whole-house surge protection device at the electrical panel. The choice of surge protection method will depend on the level of protection desired and the specific requirements of the equipment being protected. In summary, when installing receptacles in entertainment centers, it's crucial to adhere to NEC sections 406.5D and 406.5E regarding wall space and floor outlet requirements. Additionally, consider the height, type, and wiring of the receptacles, as well as the integration of lighting and surge protection. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that the entertainment center is both safe and functional. Let's now examine some exceptions and clarifications related to these NEC requirements. While the general rule is that receptacles must be installed every 6 feet along wall spaces, there are some situations where this requirement might not apply. For example, if the wall space is broken up by a doorway or other opening that is wider than 6 feet, the receptacle spacing requirement might be waived for that particular section of the wall. However, it's important to consult with the local electrical inspector to confirm whether this exception applies in your specific situation. Additionally, the NEC provides some flexibility in terms of the placement of receptacles in certain types of occupancies. For example, in dwelling units, receptacles are not required to be installed in wall spaces that are occupied by appliances or equipment that are not easily moved. This exception might apply to entertainment centers that incorporate built-in appliances such as refrigerators or wine coolers. However, it's important to note that this exception only applies if the appliances or equipment are permanently installed and are not intended to be moved. Another clarification to consider is the definition of wall space. The NEC defines wall space as any space along a wall that is unbroken by doorways, windows, or other similar openings. This means that the receptacle spacing requirement applies to continuous sections of wall, but it does not necessarily apply to isolated sections of wall that are separated by openings. For example, if an entertainment center is installed in a niche or alcove that is separated from the rest of the wall by doorways or windows, the receptacle spacing requirement might only apply to the interior of the niche or alcove. It's also important to note that the NEC is a minimum standard, and local codes or regulations might impose more stringent requirements. Therefore, it's always a good practice to consult with the local electrical inspector to ensure that your installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. In addition to the NEC requirements, there are also some best practices to consider when installing receptacles in entertainment centers. One such practice is to install extra receptacles to accommodate future needs. Entertainment centers often house a variety of electronic devices, and the number of devices tends to increase over time. By installing extra receptacles, you can avoid the need to use extension cords or power strips, which can be unsightly and potentially hazardous. Another best practice is to label the receptacles to indicate which circuit they are connected to. This can be helpful for troubleshooting electrical problems or for determining which receptacles are affected by a power outage. You can use a label maker or a permanent marker to create labels that clearly identify the circuit number or the devices that are powered by the receptacle. Furthermore, consider the use of tamper-resistant receptacles, especially if there are young children in the home. Tamper-resistant receptacles have internal shutters that prevent objects from being inserted into the slots, reducing the risk of electrical shock. These receptacles are required by the NEC in certain locations, such as dwelling units and childcare facilities, but they can also be a good idea in other areas where children might be present. When installing receptacles in entertainment centers, it's also important to consider the potential for electromagnetic interference or EMI. EMI can be caused by electronic devices that generate radio frequency signals, and it can interfere with the performance of other electronic devices. To minimize EMI, it's a good practice to keep the receptacle serving the entertainment center away from other electrical wiring or equipment that might generate EMI. You can also use shielded cables and connectors to further reduce the risk of EMI. In conclusion, installing receptacles in entertainment centers requires careful consideration of NEC requirements, local codes, and best practices. By adhering to these guidelines, you can ensure that the entertainment center is both safe and functional, providing a convenient and reliable source of power for all your electronic devices. Now, let's discuss some specific types of entertainment centers and how the receptacle spacing requirements might apply to each. Firstly, consider a wall-mounted entertainment center that consists of a series of shelves and cabinets attached directly to the wall. In this case, the receptacle spacing requirement would typically apply to the entire length of the wall, regardless of the presence of the shelves and cabinets. The receptacle should be installed at least every 6 feet along the wall, ensuring that no point along the wall is more than 3 feet away from a receptacle. Secondly, consider a freestanding entertainment center that is not attached to the wall. In this case, the receptacle spacing requirement might not apply, as the entertainment center is not considered part of the wall space. However, it's still a good practice to install receptacles within the entertainment center to provide convenient access to power for the electronic devices. The number and location of the receptacles will depend on the specific design of the entertainment center and the intended use of the devices. Thirdly, consider an entertainment center that is built into a corner of a room. In this case, the receptacle spacing requirement might apply to the walls that form the corner, but it might not apply to the entertainment center itself. The key is to determine whether the entertainment center is considered part of the wall space. If the entertainment center is permanently attached to the walls and is designed to blend in with the walls, it might be considered part of the wall space. However, if the entertainment center is freestanding and can be easily moved, it might not be considered part of the wall space. Finally, consider an entertainment center that incorporates a fireplace. In this case, the receptacle spacing requirement might be affected by the presence of the fireplace. The NEC has specific requirements for the placement of receptacles near fireplaces, and these requirements must be followed to ensure safety. Generally, receptacles should not be installed directly above or below a fireplace, and they should be located at least 4 feet away from the fireplace opening. It's important to consult with the local electrical inspector to determine the specific requirements for receptacle placement near fireplaces in your area. In addition to these specific types of entertainment centers, there are also some general considerations that apply to all entertainment centers. One such consideration is the accessibility of the receptacles. The receptacle should be located in a place that is easily accessible for plugging in and unplugging devices. They should not be located behind furniture or other obstructions that would make them difficult to reach. Another consideration is the protection of the receptacles from physical damage. The receptacle should be installed in a way that protects them from being bumped, kicked, or otherwise damaged. This might involve recessing the receptacles into the wall or using protective covers. Furthermore, consider the use of gram fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI receptacles in certain locations. GFCI receptacles are designed to protect against electrical shock by detecting ground faults and interrupting the circuit. They are required by the NEC in certain locations, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas, but they can also be a good idea in other areas where there is a risk of electrical shock. In summary, the receptacle spacing requirements for entertainment centers can vary depending on the specific type of entertainment center and the surrounding environment. It's important to consider all applicable NEC requirements, local codes, and best practices to ensure that the installation is safe, functional, and compliant.